Hey guys, here I am again, Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair, and I'm in my Krabby clothes again. No button-down shirt for this video because I'm not demonstrating a customer's unit, at least for the final time before shipment. I'm in the middle of another one of these "what did I get myself into" type jobs, and so I'm even going to smoke on camera in this case because you guys may not believe what I got myself into on this one. So here is an 8-track receiver. That's actually the 8-track mechanism. This is a Panasonic RE7800, and here's a little bit more of what it looks like when it's in its case. That's the front panel there, and your controls come through here and all that cool stuff. And so this unit belongs to Larry in Merrick, New York, and this is a very sentimental unit. I believe it belonged to his parents, so he really wanted to get it working however possible. Well, the original electronics, especially the radio section, were pretty much shot. The FM reception was really bad. I got maybe 2 stations, and so at any rate, the best course of action is to just go back in with all new electronics, just like I would with a car radio, meaning that this unit's it's going to be fully converted to 12 volts. So before I get too much into showing you what I've done so far and what I still have to do, let's go ahead and turn this on and test the 8-track. This unit is pretty well prepped for conversion, but the first thing I do is if there's going to be something that's going to take a lot of extra time, it's going to be the 8-track section. So I always do that part first before I proceed with the rest of the conversion preparation. I get the 8-track fully functional. So let's go ahead and test that real quick. Let's turn this thing on. I've got that much of it working, and then we'll pop a tape in, and then I'll have to turn my receiver up because it's going to kick out on roller when I push this tape in.
Come on, baby, let's go steady again. Down, down, everybody wants to know the drive. No other would take. You have made what I do. Let's go steady again. She's never found. When her paddock comes to pass, let that
Okay, so now I'll show you guys what all that's involved with this crazy thing. So let's disconnect this stuff so I can move it around and things. I haven't yet cut off the AC cord, and the weird thing about this unit. Okay, I think we're all disconnected. Let's get rid of this back panel. And so here's what we've got here. Get rid of this. Okay, so originally, now all the controls were soldered to the circuit board, and this circuit board, now of course I've put other stuff in its place, but this circuit board did reside right about there, and the controls were soldered to it. Well, there was no way I could get in there with a desoldering iron to unsolder the controls from the board, so I had to do a whole bunch of other types of disassembly so that I was able to pull the entire board out with the controls on it, and then I could get to the solder connections and unsolder the controls. So this is now going to be mainly open space because the conversion module is going to mount somewhere in this area, and then I've already, and at this point, we can probably get a little bit closer with the camera, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've already pre-wired the controls, for the conversion. I'll use the controls right here. You got your volume, balance, bass, treble. The treble control won't be used because the FMR module only allows for a tone control, which also acts as a bass and treble control. And you back it off, it actually adds bass. If you crank it up, it adds treble. And so all this mess right here, this is just the indicator lamps for whatever function the customer set. Okay, now here's my new head preamp. Here's the new motor. This unit originally had an AC motor, and if I didn't replace it with a DC motor, then he would have had to plug this thing into a wall, plus have an external 12-volt supply. And that's one thing I didn't mention yet, is this entire unit is being converted to 12 volts DC, because he wanted more output power in Bluetooth, and so that's really only possible if we do a full conversion on this thing with the FMR module that's normally made for car units, but it works in home receivers too, with a heck of a lot of extra work. I gotta tell you, man, Panasonic does not make their equipment easy to work on. Just to pull the capstan out, I had to, there was one screw holding the capstan retaining bracket in place that I just couldn't quite get to, so just for one screw I had to disassemble this 8-track section and pull it off the receiver and work my little magic there. So there's a new preamp. There's the new 12-volt DC motor with the speed control board. That's almost standard on every job that I do. Almost all 8-track players need a new motor to perform well. And then all this stuff right here, this is just where I've run the wires from the controls to roughly where the FMR module is going to be mounted. This is the tuning capacitor. Almost all your car units use inductors for tuning. Almost all your home equipment uses a capacitor for tuning. So these are the wires that are coming from the tuner that are just ready to solder to the module when we get it in. There's the 8-track output that'll be incorporated in the electronics somehow. I haven't figured out everything about how to do this job yet. I just looked at it enough to know that I can do it. And so now in this, ordinarily we isolate the tuning capacitor, and remove all the electronics that are connected to it, because it can cause interference with the conversion module. It's not really necessary on this unit. Nobody's going to see it. It's just sitting there. It's not hurting anything. And to cut this board out is going to create so much sawdust that I'm afraid it'll get into the tuning capacitor and resulting in rough tuning. I did have to lubricate the tuning to get it working much more smoothly. It's you can go really from one end of the dial to the other very smoothly, and so this AC cord will be removed because there's no use for it anymore. It'll be replaced with just your red and black wires to connect to the 12-volt supply, and underneath nothing really special, I guess. This is the controls right here. You can see your 4 controls there. The tape machine. Here's that screw that I couldn't get to with this panel in the way, so I had to loosen the 8-track and move it up to where I could get to that screw, so I could pull the capstan retaining bracket off and put the capstan in the sandblaster for resurfacing. That's pretty necessary these days. So I'm not going to make this a real long video, but this is like the 3rd job in a row that is like so out of the ordinary. And the good thing about this is there's plenty of room inside, to run wires. I don't have to be especially neat. I don't have to do a whole lot of pre-planning because everything's pretty much out in the open and easy to get to. So now it's no longer a Panasonic unit. Now we can call it an Aurora Design / Barry's 8-track repair unit, because it doesn't have the same specs. This unit's also going to have a turntable input, and I talked. This customer has a separate turntable guy he goes to, and oh god, I forgot what I was leading up to. But he's got a pretty high-end turntable, and it's going to need a magnetic cartridge preamp, but that has to be incorporated into this thing too. And then the funny thing about there's no the front panel does not have the selections labeled, the selector switch. It doesn't say AM, FM stereo, tape, phono. That's all done by these indicator lamps. There's no writing on the panel. The only way you know what you're switching to is by watching these lights. So I'm going to replace all these lights. They're probably due for replacement. and this is going to be the FM stereo light. And this is not really etched in stone yet, but it's just some of the many ideas. I know I can make the whole thing work. I'm just not exactly sure how yet. So you've heard the results of the HVAC section. You know that's working. We know the on-off switch is good because the light's turned on when we turn it on, and the on-off switch has to be turned on for the HVAC function to work. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I'm out of here. I've been working on this thing all day yesterday and all morning today. And so I'm ready to take a little break from it. And frankly, a lot of my best work comes from just sitting and thinking. Like if I'm watching TV or whatever I'm doing, surfing the web. I need to think. Most of the stuff that I do involves quite a bit of thinking. Some of it requires a lot of pre-planning. But before I go any further with this, I'm going to think on it some more and think of the best ways to do, the rest of the stuff. So. Just kind of wanted to let you know, what I'm sometimes up against, how some jobs will take much longer. Ordinarily, I can do a radio conversion if I really had to in a day's time, 12 to 14 hours on an 8-track radio. On this job, this is going to be more like, 4 or 5 days before I got everything figured out and sorted out and installed properly and all that. And then we have to test it, make sure it all works. So that's just one of the many reasons that some jobs may be a little bit later than normal, because I run into these situations where a job's going to take 5 days instead of 1 day, and so I just have to do it. So anyway, thanks so much for watching and listening, guys, and thank you, Larry, for your business all the way from New York and a chance to do something very different. This is actually the first time I've ever converted a home receiver to 12 volts. So this is going to be an interesting project. So we'll see you guys next time, and thanks again for watching.